In this video, we're going to have a look at Adobe Acrobat Professional, and we're going to look at some skills that are going to make working with existing PDFs in Acrobat much more useful for educators. We're going to look at editing content in an existing PDF, both text and images. We're also going to look at working with pages within a PDF and how we can manipulate those with a document that we may or may not have created. We're also going to take a more in-depth look at bookmarking and think about how that can help us structure and organise a document. And finally, we're going to customise the initial view that a reader of our document will see and how we can help that be more useful for them. So here is Adobe Acrobat Professional, and here is a document that we've looked at before. It's a UK government document designed to be given to schools and other organisations as well. And this could be a document that you wanted to share with your school community, with staff, with students, with parents. It doesn't have to be a guidance note, it could be a letter, it could be a prospectus, it could be a yearbook. We're going to now look through and see how we can work with a document that we may have retrieved from someone else. We may have been sent it, they may have prepared it for us, or we may have created it ourselves. That may have been a while ago and we might need to go back and do some more work. So the first thing we're going to look at is editing existing content. And to do that, we're going to first of all zoom into the document using the plus button there. And we're going to go down and say, for example, I wanted to change one of these and I wanted to just slightly tweak the text. If I click on the Tools option, I've then got a section called Content Editing. And when I go to Content Editing, I've got Edit Text and Images here. I can also get to this by clicking on this icon up here in the toolbar. And if I click on this, you'll then see I get boxes around the areas of text, and I can go through, for example, say I wanted to just change the capitalization of the word note and make it lowercase. I can press the keyboard in the usual way, and just like a word processor, it changes that. I need to save this document before anything changes, but it's very easy to go through and select something. I can then change the text a little bit. I can make it bold, I can make it unbold, I can italicize it. For example, if you had a yearbook and someone's name was incorrect and you didn't want to have to go through the whole process of going back to the printer, going back to the people who made the yearbook, you could simply go in and change it here before you distributed it further. Editing text is fairly simple. You can do lots of different formatting. The usual formatting areas are here on the right hand side. You can change the font, but obviously if it's a cohesive design that your school has chosen, then you won't necessarily want to do that. You won't want to make it look like a ransom note. You'll want it all to look very professional. Here's another thing you might want to change. We have an image here, and this whole document, if we look up, it's kind of got a red theme. And if I had later on decided that this image, I didn't want a full color image, I wanted a tinted image, what I can do is I can do a number of things. I can edit the image and rotate it using these buttons on the right hand side. I can flip it horizontally, I can flip it vertically, I can rotate it if I want to, but I can also edit using another program. Now I'm going to pick Adobe Photoshop, but I can also do this by right-clicking on the image and selecting Edit using Adobe Photoshop. This will then go away and launch Photoshop, and you'll see up here the file name is a PDF file name. So say for example that I wanted to colorize this image. I wanted to make it red. I wanted to give it the feeling of the document. So I could then just do a saturation. I'm going to make the image red. I'm not going to spend too much time worrying about the image. This is just for a demonstration. And now if I close Photoshop and save, we'll now round trip back to the document, and that image is now red. It's a very simple way of changing that. You could always swap the image for another one as well. When I've got the document, I can then go to the Pages view here on the left hand side. If I just click on the hand key to get out of editing, I can then start to navigate the document around. Pages view, very useful, gives an overview of the document, and we can go through and use the zoom to zoom in and out, and we can just use it as a way of navigating. Now those thumbnails are quite small. An easy way to make these bigger for users is to right click and pick Enlarge Page Thumbnail. This will give them a view of the document that they may feel is slightly more useful. Again, you can do all the usual dragging around in that document if you want to. It's also possible as you scroll down the document that you may find there are various pages, and we can see there's a page here that we worked on this before, and if I just use the menu here to zoom out and fit the page level in, we'll see the whole page in the document. I rotated that page, and I can further manipulate that if I want to, or I could rotate some of the pages. The way to do that is over in the Tools panel on the right hand side is check the Pages section, and here we've got a section called Manipulate Pages. I can then rotate any page I want to, or I can rotate a selection of pages. If I click rotate, it says first of all what do you want to do. I'd like to rotate it clockwise or counterclockwise. But secondly, which pages do you want to do? I could rotate all of my pages if I wanted to. If I came across a document and they were all the wrong way around, I could rotate the pages in there. I could just rotate a selection of pages, or I could just rotate, and this is sometimes useful, odd pages or even pages. Or you could just go and find all the pages that are landscape, and I could do the same, achieve the same by doing this, rather than pages from 7 to 7. Rotating it counterclockwise by 90 degrees will then rotate that page back to its original orientation. And you can manipulate this as you want to. You can also delete pages, and it will say which ones you want to delete. By default, it selects the one you're on. And I could also extract pages and make those into a new PDF. For example, say this was a series of documents that students had prepared, and someone else had given it to me all in one PDF, and actually I wanted these as individual files to give back to individual students. There might be reports on students or something like that. If I wanted to do all pages, so I say I wanted to do 1 to 22, and then I check this option there, which is extract pages as separate files. If I click OK, this will break the document down into 22 individual PDFs, each of one page, and then I can go and save them as file names if I want to, or I can distribute them. I can do what I want with them. But it's a way of extracting certain pages. Can be useful if you want to remove a page and put it into a new file. That's very useful. You wouldn't normally use this for deletion, but you can if you want to. When you've taken a chapter, for example, out of a book that you might be using, you can delete those pages as well. I'm just going to click cancel there and not do that. It's also possible to replace a page. So if you've got a document that's been prepared and there's an error on one of the pages, and the printer or whoever's preparing it to sends you just that page, you don't have to crowbar it in. You can just go in and you can replace a page. It asks you what file you want to do. By default, it's a PDF file. Where do you want it to go? And it will then ask you which pages you want to replace. Bookmarks are the other panel on the left hand side that we're very interested in. Here are some bookmarks that we made earlier, and clicking on these takes us to, as you'd expect, parts of the document that we want people to see. Previously we've looked at how you can set up a bookmark with the view that you want by zooming in and out using the plus and the minus keys to zoom in and out to get the view you want, using the scroll bars to position the viewer where you want to see things. So if I'm just going for this pink coloured box here, I can just scroll across, and then what I'm going to do is use the text selection tool, drag across there to select the text. That's going to be the title of the bookmark. Right click and add bookmark. I then get a bookmark there. I can then scroll down, and this is a very simple way of structuring a document. Right click, add another bookmark. Or Control B, I'm going to press Control or Command on the Mac and B, and now I've got documents in here. If I want to structure these, I can drag these bookmarks across and I can make them nested, so I can make bookmarks that can be expandable. You may have dozens and dozens of bookmarks, and it may make sense to have them contracted like this so people can see that if they click the plus sign there is something under there. If you have a lot of bookmarks, the little context menu here above the bookmarks panel allows you to set the options, and you can do things like make the text size smaller so the bookmarks will appear in a much more compact fashion, or they could be much larger if you think it's going to be appropriate for your users to be able to see the bookmarks almost as large as the text on the page. This is quite important to wrap the long bookmarks, so if you have a long title like some of these are, they don't run off all the way into behind the document. Also, if you've got an issue where some of the text maybe doesn't sit well, you can right click and rename a bookmark. So I could type in, for example, if I wanted to abbreviate this a bit, I could type in section, spell it right, I could type in section 1, and I can put the spacing in if for some reason within the document there wasn't a space in there, and I can just start to tidy this up a bit. Although it may not look much tidier, it just, for some people this would be very important to get this all spelled correctly. Some of your school community will object to wrong spellings even in the bookmarks, as they should, so you can take some control of that there. You can move bookmarks up and down by clicking and holding and dragging them, and the little dotted line tells you where this bookmark is going to go. This doesn't affect the structure of the document, it just affects where the bookmark appears in the bookmarks pane. So if you have a document that actually you don't want to read page 1, page 2, page 3, but there's a structure and you want to navigate people through the document, you could arrange the bookmarks on the left hand side to take them to the right parts of the document in the right order, even if it's not actually page 1, page 2, page 3, etc. Now the bookmarks and the pages are all very useful, but actually what happens when most people view a document is it comes in like this. It comes in maybe with the zoomed in out to the page or zoomed in to the page width, and you don't see the bookmarks, you will almost certainly have opened PDF documents and never known that there were bookmarks in there. It's possible to ensure that when someone opens a document, they see your bookmarks or your pages, and here's how you do it. Under the File menu, you go to Properties. That's the properties for this document. It only sets it for this document. And there are various tabs here. The one we're interested in is Initial View. So the first thing we're going to set is, what navigation tab do they see? The navigation tab is the area here on the left hand side, and this is going to be the bookmarks panel and the page. That means when this PDF is opened by anybody using Adobe Reader, it's going to show them the bookmarks panel, whether they've turned it on or not. They might turn it off, but you can change that to pages if you want to, but we're going to set it to be bookmarks. And what do you want the page layout to be? Just single page is fine. What magnification? Do you want them to see the whole page or the width of the page? I'm going to say fit page. And which page do you want them to start on? If you've got a very nice cover page, you might want them to start on there. You might want them to start on the main part of the report, or you might want them to start on the summary page for your yearbook or something like that. You can also resize the window to fit the initial page. You can open it in full screen mode where it will take over their screen. You may or may not make friends doing that. You can also decide what you want to show in the top of the window. Here we've got file name, so when they open it, it says CHI Disabil Guide Note.pdf, which isn't very user friendly. We can change that to be the document title, and under the description panel we can see this is the document title. So rather than saying the file name that's here, we will see at the top of the window this, which is much more accessible and explains what the document is all about. So we're just going to do that. I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to save the document. And you can see immediately we've got Education with Children with Disabilities, Improving Access and Quality. And then when I close this and reopen it, the bookmarks panel appears straight away. That's because I set it in the page properties. So with those skills, with the ability to work with pages, the ability to work with bookmarks, to set the initial view, and very importantly to be able to edit content, to be able to change images and text, you will be able to cope with most of what working with the majority of PDFs will throw at you. You'll be able to take documents and give them structure, give them meaning, and make them far more useful for the people who will be reading them. Ultimately, you create a PDF because you want people to read and digest what's in it. And using these tools can really help you to make that a much easier process for them. So in this video we've covered the essential skills to make working with existing PDFs in Acrobat much more useful for educators. We've looked at editing content, both text and images, including using Photoshop. We've looked at working with pages within a PDF, in-depth bookmarking, and how to customize a reader's initial view.